Just give it 1 second to start. Okay, we're good. We're live.
Okay, thanks. Welcome everyone to the Larchmont and Mamaroneck Joint Garbage Disposal Commission meeting for Thursday, March 4th. And is there a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so Steve, we have an agenda.
Yes, you have an agenda that I sent, and you
Yep.
have, so the first item on that agenda is the review.
It's hard to hear you, Steve.
Yes, that's probably, why can't you hear me? Can you hear me better now? No?
Okay, yeah. Is it okay for you, Lorraine?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Okay.
me? I don't know what happened. I'm not muted.
No, you're not muted.
So
Just sounds low.
we're still zooming. I think the Zoom is tired from last night, Nancy. We went too late. I haven't gotten home at 11 o'clock in a long time. Anyway, if you can hear me, the first item is the exemption policy, which I crafted, and then I put together the application, which, subject to whatever edits or changes you may want to include, we would then just need to discuss the launching of this thing, which I'm as happy to do next week if that's acceptable. Why don't we go over everything first to make sure we're all still on the same page. Let's start with the policy, and then we'll go with the application, which if you notice, I made it one application for whether it be senior citizens or medical, rather than creating.
You want to put it up so that the
Oh, yeah.
viewers can see what we're talking about?
Yes, okay. Where are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? No, that's not the right one. All right, give me a second here. Hold on. I gotta get out of this. Let's go here. Here. And I gotta go here.
I think I could. Are you having trouble finding the document?
I'm okay. I'm getting there. Hold on. My clicking is not what it used to be. Okay. Oh, you can't see that yet. Hold on. I got to share. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So there's the policy. It's not, I know you all made a couple of edits the last time. I, neatened it up a little bit, clarified. The email address at some point will change to, it'll just say superintendent at LMJ whatever, or at Town of Mamaroneck. But for now, we can put town administrator. That works. Or you call for an application. You can submit the application by mail or email to the commission. And then there are the qualifying criteria for both. And, the doctor's note is required, certifying that the applicant is unable to take a household garbage container to the curb, certifying that there's no one else in the home that can bring the container to the curb. That applies to both the senior citizen and the disabled exemption. And then the requirement that this be renewed every 2 years. And what we would do is set up a chrono file electronically that these would pop up, and then the application would be resent. Whether people will remember to do it when to discontinue the exemption when they move, I doubt it, but you know, we can work through that. So any questions, comments, revisions on the policy?
I was okay with it.
Just reading it through one more time.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, one little edit.
Yeah.
That's all.
There had to be something. Okay.
In the renewal for curbside exemption, after the, oh, you just,
Oh, I just took it so I could edit it while
yeah,
we were
no,
talking.
that's okay. Yeah, it just meant that our faces were over. So there's a comma after circumstances change.
Yeah.
You take that comma out, please. Make a space. And if you want the comma, it could go after the parentheses. And take that extra space out before relocate. So there were 2 edits.
That's it?
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Okay, so now, oh, all right, I don't have to worry about that. All right, so now let's take this one down, stop the share, and let's go to the form. Okay, now this will end up being, can you see that?
No,
No,
Come on, Steve. Okay. All right, so this will end up being a 2-pager because on the bottom, I can't get it all the way down. It says over. So this is page 1 on the far left, page 2 in the middle, and page 3 is on the far right. This is what the form would look like. I think it did something when I did the share, so I have to, I think space, oh, there it is. Yeah, it bled over to the second page. So where you see over up here, that's
yeah, it
normal.
messed up your formatting a little
Messed up
bit.
my spacing a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'll fix that. So again, I think it was easier to use one form for everything, and then I have to change this to town administrator. So the person checks the box of what they're applying for. We ask these questions. This basically follows the policy.
Okay, so I had a bunch of changes to the far right panel, but I'm not seeing how I can get back to my
All right, you know what
changes.
you do, Nancy? If you, I have a printed out copy in front of me. So if you want to just tell me what they are, we'll go over them, and I'm just going to make them on this copy. And then what I'll do is, because I know your faces are over most of it anyway. And then what I'll do is I'll just send you the revised versions when we finish it up.
Okay, the problem is I can't get back to my version with the screen sharing up. But I could print mine if you,
All right.
I don't know. I could just give you
Are
my,
there a lot of changes?
there was a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there was. But Lorraine, do you know if it's possible to, well, let me see if I can.
Well, you could share your screen.
Yeah, if you,
share
If you
your
exit,
screen
if
with
you
your
exit
version.
full screen, you
There we
should be able
go.
to
Okay, there we
access
go.
your.
I didn't, right, I just got that. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop.
So here we go. I'll tell you. No, there's not so many. Sorry. Number 3, those applying for a senior citizen, I took out the S. In number 4,
What do you mean you took out the S for a senior citizen?
yeah, those
The
applying
second
for a
S, I'm
senior
sorry.
citizen exemption.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
number 4, in the second line after the phone number, I changed it to request a curbside exemption form instead of to receive a request.
Yep. Okay, that is better. Okay, to request the curbs. Okay.
And then upon the next sentence, upon completion of the curbside exemption form, comma,
Yep.
and then in the last sentence, the applicant will be notified in writing within 20 days of receipt of the application. Informing them.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Anything else?
You just on the policy part in the last section, those returns are just because of the way it's showing on the screen.
I'm sorry, Lorraine, where are you?
The number 5 in the policy page. Yeah, it says curbside exemption and then
Oh,
big
yeah, no,
space.
that's a continuous sentence. It's just the way it's the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
good,
fine.
thank you.
There is a little typo under request for curbside collection exemption on the second paragraph where it starts, please complete the following information and return in person, by email, or by.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so if this is all right, I will make the corrections. The policy will obviously go on commission letterhead, and then we'll post it on the commission. Well, we'll post it on the policy on the commission website, and then I'll send it down so it could be posted on the village and the town website. Do you want to launch this next week? We
Sure.
start the process?
Sooner the better.
Okay. do you want to do any sort of we talked at one point, should we just sort of morph into this, or do you want to put out any sort of a piece about the fact, okay, we're in curbside and all that goes with it, or should we just send out the announce the exemption piece? We talked about whether we would do an informational. But
Well, for those who aren't aware that we switched to curbside pickup only.
yeah, I mean, we're not. I will tell you, we are getting. Maybe we get one or two skip calls. I mean,
Right.
We're not getting a lot of skips, so it would appear that everybody knows what to do.
Right.
So
I think we should just roll out the exemption.
What?
I think we should just roll out the exemptions.
Yeah, we've been doing curbside for a year.
So long.
Okay, then I'm just gonna. Okay, then that's what I'll do. Actually, in rolling it out on the two websites, we can, you can put, it's sort of a reminder, garbage must be at the curb. We can do it in
But do you think we should also do a robocall or email blast to let people know this is available, or because
we are getting a couple of we've gotten a dozen phone calls over the last 6 or 7. I mean, we're not getting a lot of phone calls. And then
no.
I guess the question is, I mean, we've decided operationally what we're going to do is, for now, we're just going to put these laminated lists in each of the trucks to identify the exemption addresses, and they will the employees will just follow that list, and I think that's the way we can do it for the foreseeable future. So. Okay, I'll revise it, get it sent back to you, and then put it in a format to post on all the websites. And
Lorraine, do you think there should be any specific outreach, more proactive outreach, I guess I'm saying, like a robocall or maybe just an email blast? I know a robocall
I
seems
suppose. The robocall, no.
I know you would think that those people who want it, they will know.
Right. I mean, the people who've been following and asking about it. But we could put it, I could include a little box in our newsletter.
Yeah, why don't we just do the websites? And then now I can tell the people here when somebody calls that, give us either an email address or a form or a mail address, and we'll send you the form. I say we roll it out passively.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Anything else on this?
Can you let us know exactly when we can say it's rolled out?
Yes, I will. I will let the two of you know when we can say it officially. I would guess I can, because we don't have an agenda due tomorrow. I can probably finish this tomorrow. We can probably put the rollout on Monday. Unless something happens that I can't figure out here. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda is a salary authorization to hire Mr. Joseph Richardson. This is to fill a vacant sanitation worker slot. The position was originally held by Cyril Nash. It's been empty for some time. This does not change the total complement. We still will be at 18. The starting salary for the position is $47,075. All of the benefits are covered by the collective bargaining agreement. We are, so there's it's actually a lower vacation allotment to employees hired after 2014, as well as a salary contribution, a hospitalization contribution This is Joe's actually been working for us part-time for quite some time. He's a very good worker. He is in the midst of obtaining his CDL license, which is now a requirement in our collective bargaining agreement. So,
Okay, and this would bring us to how many, or how many workers and how many vacancies?
so we have the total budgeted full-time employees for the commission is 20. That includes the foreman and then deputy foreman / tractor trailer driver. And then there are 18 sanitation / MEO slots. This would fill the 18th slot, although I have to give you both some other information. Why don't we finish this first, and then I just have to.
Is that a reduction from the, I think Nancy's asking how many,
You mean the salary?
no, number of sanitation workers.
Yeah, if you recall, when we put together the two versions of the budget, the curbside budget had 18 collection personnel plus a foreman and deputy foreman. So
Right.
let's say for now 18 budgeted slots.
Versus how many in the previous version?
20.
Okay.
So we're going to have 3 men on each route. On recycling day, we will supplement that to a 4th man. There will then be what we call 3 floaters. These will be employees that are assigned, full-time employees assigned to the yard, but they're not going to be there very often. They're going to fill vacations, sick leave, comp leave, supplement for recycling day. And then there's budgeted money for part-timers, particularly when we start organic collection.
So, Steve, if we used to run 4 on each route, right?
Yep.
And now we're dropping to 1 fewer per route.
Yep.
Why didn't we drop to 15 from 20?
Because you have to have spares, Lorraine. You've got to be able to fill vacations. And then think of it this way: if somebody goes on vacation, now we go from a 3-man crew to a 2-man crew, and I have to tell you, the workload is such. The workload is such that there's no way we can sustain that. It's just
so
impossible.
when we used 4 on each route, that we didn't have to have the extra bodies because
Right.
we could drop to 3 safely.
Correct. I do. We don't have to discuss this now, but we picked up an extra 100 ton of cardboard and paper. Overall, we collected 600 more tons of material this year than we did in 20 than we did in 19. It's having an effect.
Is it mostly cardboard? Is it mostly like
the organic went up and the garbage went up, not by much. The garbage. I don't have the figures in front of me, Lorraine. I'll send them to you.
Okay.
But we did collect more cardboard, more bottles and cans, and more organic.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not either. No, I don't think it was a surprise. It was
Yeah.
just you're starting to see. For another time, I know how strongly you feel about collecting all the material on one day, but it's going to have an impact somewhere down the road. And I wonder whether we could talk about, not today, an alternative schedule. We've been talking about, we would still pick up both materials every week. We would just split the days. Let me give you a quick example. So Wednesday would be dedicated to newspaper. And then Monday, we would pick up garbage, and Monday route commingles. Tuesday would pick up garbage, and Tuesday route commingles. It's not a difficult schedule. It's still picking up both materials every week. The paper is what really is the tougher of the 2 loads. The bottles are actually quite easy.
Yeah, they're not that heavy.
So not to deal with right now, but something I'd like to plant that we talk about because it's getting to be a bit of an issue. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be in this situation where everybody's just buying everything online. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, well, should we deal with the appointment first?
Yes, let's deal with that. And then I want to talk about another position.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we appoint Joseph Richardson as the sanitation worker, full-time.
So moved. Second, rather. Sorry.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So let me inform you that sure enough, just after I sent this out to you, I get a phone call that Lamar and Winkster wants to retire. He wants to get out. He is the one that was the lead driver on Route 2. So what we did was he literally did not want to come back to work, but next week is sort of a crazy week with a couple of people already out. We have one employee that has to go out for surgery on a hernia, and I'm not going to go through all of that. Long story short, that we are going to rearrange. We've already started talking about a rearrangement of the crews. This doesn't really affect you other than the fact that I want you to know it. And we would now have another vacancy at the sanitation man level. So we probably would ask for a meeting, perhaps the end of next week, to recommend the promotions from sanitation man to NEO of 3 people that would assume responsibility for routes. We have vacancies in routes 1, 5, and 2 now, with Marty leaving. And then that would create one more vacancy for a sanitation man. And we already are working on somebody that we think will be effective in filling that slot. So there's a little bit of musical personnel right now going on. All right. That's all
So
I have.
you said though you wanted to set up a meeting for next week to make those changes?
Well, let me get back to you on Monday.
Okay.
I want to make sure we have we're doing the interviews on the promotions on Monday, and hopefully we'll make decisions by Tuesday. Okay. Want to talk about the district, the commission, the whatever?
How did the meeting go with your board last night, Lorraine?
It went well. So to cut right to the chase, they are in favor of an expanded district on the condition that we work out all of the I'll just use the phrase governance issues or language before anything else gets done for an expanded district, because that's sort of the devil in the detail for the board.
Was this the issue of the advisory board, right?
This is all the language that would go for the advisory board,
Okay.
what the advisory board would have control over, a tie-breaking process, not the one suggested in your email. So if we can work on that and come to a satisfactory conclusion, then they're ready to move ahead.
So would that be you and me working together with Steve to address that language or take the language that was proposed and work with that?
Yeah, we can work on something. I know we had a long conversation, so I know what some of the concerns are that need to be addressed.
Can you give us an idea of what some of the concerns are, just to give us a flavor of where?
Yeah, so there were concerns about making sure that the advisory board has the ability to really direct operational policy decisions. So especially in ways, well, operational policy decisions. So, how do we actually pick up the trash? What kind of services do we provide? A lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last 2 years in terms of various types of changes that can be effectuated for efficiency and for environmental reasons. And for the over the budget, tie-breaking process needs to be fleshed out in a way that doesn't automatically bypass the advisory board's ability to affect how the budget rolls. So, a suggestion might be, if there's a tie, then it has to automatically go to a public hearing so that at least there's a public airing of what the differences are. We need to make sure that we have some sort of, this kind of goes to the operational policy control in terms of decisions that might adversely affect the business district. These are concerns. It has to do, it all boils down to being able to make sure that the services that the garbage district provides are in line with the entirety of the service area.
Okay.
It sounds a little like there isn't, the faith that those things would be taken into account in a way that would feel comfortable to the village.
I think that there is definitely concern that if it's not built into the structure, that at some point decisions could be made that would be problematic.
Lorraine, what if we went in a slightly different direction? Meaning, what if there was, let's take sort of what I think would become the absurd example. Let's say the town board says, you know what, we don't want to pick up any more commercial garbage. We're going to dump it all. That type of service change, and we could probably list, I mean, there's not that much service, but that would trigger that public hearing that you're talking about, or public review, so that the town board, while they have final budget authority, could not use that authority to change the service. That would have to be cleared through the advisory board in such a way that, whether it's a public hearing or a tiebreaker, to try and be a
right.
little...
It is definitely that there is a connection between the ultimate, although the language that I sent had the advisory board has to approve the budget first, but then it's an even number of people. So right. So that's where the tie break issue comes in. And certainly, the budget is the document that represents your operation. So if you're wanting to cut your budget, you might do it in a way that changes the operational services, right?
Right.
Policies, yeah, which is what you're saying.
I'm thinking of budget changes that either we don't have control over or don't change the service, and whether that would be subject to the same back and forth. Like, for instance, let's use if it becomes a district, the town administrator presents the budget to the district board, and he talks about all the various line items. The advisory board may say, is this changing the service? The administrator says no, but there could be a change in the budget that has no effect on service at all. And it's more of a, one of the advantages of the district is that we're going to expand our purchasing power for certain things beyond the small little commission. So I guess I'm trying not to put I understand putting a bit of a stranglehold on the budget for service change. I just wouldn't want, this line by line dickering on something that doesn't change service. We decide, let's say there's a conference line. We decide, well, the town's going to take all its conference lines out of its entire budget. If it's not changing the service, I don't think the town board should be prohibited from implementing that kind of a policy. If it's to reduce, I guess the other thing could be, what if, in addition to go to an automated truck,
Yeah.
It's not really changing the service. All of a sudden, they're a real bargain, but for whatever reason, people on the advisory board from the village, I guess.
Well, that is an operational change that's something I would consider to be in the realm of operational policy, going to automated trucks. So that would be something.
It doesn't have any budget impact, though.
Right. So, but we're talking about two separate things, which sometimes really have a relationship. So there's, directing the operational policies of the garbage. I don't even know what to call it. We'll just keep calling it garbage district, whatever. So that changes, like maybe moving to automated trucks, moving to food waste pickup, I don't know, all of those different changes that affect the efficiency and, the ecological and other aspects. That's all operational policy. They may not have a budgetary impact. It's possible.
I agree with you 100% on the collection of food waste. That's
Okay.
really a major change in operation.
Right.
But, I don't know.
I think it's going to be tough to negotiate these, just because obviously if we're taking on the responsibility of the budget, it's hard to say that, we have to not share, but looking at that an outside, entity would have sort of veto power on it, I guess. But, I also see that it is, a service for both communities.
Yeah. It's not quite like turning over dog catcher to the town. This
No.
this is goes beyond, and having the concept, even just in the way you phrased it, having outsiders.
Right. I'm thinking from a budget perspective.
Yeah, but that use of that phrase, that speaks to the concerns
Right.
of the village board that they're going to lose the ability to help direct how this service is provided to their residents. Even though it makes sense from the standpoint of financially and allows for some broad operational changes that the current setup doesn't allow.
But don't they want to have that also? I mean, isn't that also one of the benefits, that it becomes a town responsibility?
I don't think that it's, no. I think it's that it becomes a fairer and more flexible way for the service to be provided to the residents of the expanded district. Not that it becomes the town's responsibility.
But that is an effect.
Entirely.
But you do benefit from that you're not going to have, just as now it's the commission's responsibility.
Correct, but the commission is directed 50-50. So operational changes that you and I might make require us to have the support of our boards. And then we both make them. This is now a setup where, in essence, yes, we are turning it all over to the town, but is there no role for us to direct how this service plays out? That's what they're trying to make sure, that we still have a place at the table.
I guess I can only think of absurd examples at this point. The village makes the decision they want to go back to backdoor collection. And the town is saying, hey, look, this is working really well. We've reduced the budget. I don't know how you resolve that one. I could see taking on a new service like food waste collection, or if, the town said, well, we're not going to pick up garbage in the business district. But I'm thinking of that where the village may want to reinstate or propose a service that's going to raise the budget. And ultimately it's the town board that has the accountability for the budget to now.
Yeah, no, I know. I see that's from your perspective, and I understand that you're wanting to make sure that the village doesn't have the ability to make the budget blow up. Quite frankly, I think my board has shown an extreme desire to reduce the budget and to find efficiencies and make the service more modern. So I don't know, but I understand that that's the concern that the town should be looking at. I get that.
And so I understand the difference, the concern about changing the service and affecting the residents. And that's what I thought we were talking about before, of any major change or any kind of real impact on the residents of the service, that would be something to be discussed in the advisory committee, because it really would change it. And that's something that, we all have to answer to and be responsible for. But I don't know, I think that the budget is going to be tough because.
So the language in the ambulance district, which is what I based the draft I sent to you, actually probably, I don't know, 2 months ago or so.
Right. No, I know what that.
Yes. Also says, the ambulance district, theoretically, the advisory board there is also supposed to have the ability to, the requirement to approve the budget. I'm not so sure that happens, but it's written into the plan. So that's where I got that from. But at the point at which budgets can sometimes drive operations, because perhaps there's a decision made to go one way operationally, but the budget doesn't get approved to support it, that's an issue as well.
But that is what would be discussed, you know, in the advisory committee, that the operations, any kind of change of service to the residents would be something that has to be discussed and agreed upon.
Yes, well, so let's assume that it's discussed and it's agreed upon. And then the budget gets done and the town board decides that that's too much money. They don't want to approve the budget. So the change doesn't happen.
I think that, you know, what we're talking about is having what's decided in the advisory board govern what happens in the budget.
So that might be a way that this gets written.
Let me raise another concern, and that, you know, like for instance, the decision to replace vehicles. Admittedly, we've been a little more aggressive in trying to keep the vehicles replaced so that we're not, you know, always taping these things together. I think the replacement of a vehicle could create an issue, and that's where it potentially gets a little messy. You know, if we have a capital schedule, which we actually have been drafting, that talks about replacing vehicles on some schedule. Two scenarios. One scenario is things are relatively good. We should keep up with the schedule. And so the decision is to replace the truck. The second scenario is we're having a real bad year because of the pandemic. So now we're going to push it out to a future year. The question is whether the members of the advisory board from the village would, you know, they might in a good year, at least for the town's budget, say, well, do you really need to replace that truck? And now what do we do? You know, that's not saying whether we're going to collect food waste or stop picking up garbage at the curb, or, you know what I'm saying, Lorraine?
Yeah.
Internal operation of how we manage our capital equipment.
Right.
I mean, isn't the real interest of the village just to make sure that the service continues equitably, fairly, and also, as you know, we all decide it should progress, you know, whatever that means, in becoming more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that's what would be the core discussion of the advisory committee, the core purpose of it. And that, you know, what's decided there will get translated into operations. Especially if there's two, didn't we talk about having two elected officials on each, from each community?
And both administrators.
I mean, you're talking about, you know, folks who are.
But really, it's the four elected, the two administrators would not vote on anything.
Yeah, right.
They're really to,
well, 4 electeds and 2 residents.
Right.
So there'd be 6 voting members.
Right.
What do we have on the ambulance district?
You have 1 representative from VAC, 1 from EMS.
And then 1 from each of the municipalities. So it's 5.
3 chief elected officials. The town administrator and the ambulance district administrator sit on the committee, but we don't both vote. The structure would be very similar. I mean, that.
Right. It's just that we end up with an even number. Help that.
And why did we think of the residents on it?
I think it's helpful sometimes to have that perspective and that level of transparency. But No, I mean, what you just said, basically wraps it up. We just have to make sure that we find the wording that makes sure of several things. One, that the basic operational details of the service are decided upon by the advisory board, and that we have a fair way to work out impasses and tie votes, or a process to move to if we have a tie. There needs to be, yeah.
Yeah, well,
We're gonna have to create a tiebreaker. We can have some really creative ways to have a tiebreaker.
Yep. And if the language can, as you suggested, tie the budget to the operational decisions that the advisory board makes, there still needs to be a presentation and oversight of the budget, but maybe items like whether or not a truck needs to be replaced would be part of the review, but perhaps not part of the decision making.
I kind of think it's possible to come up with that language.
All things are possible.
Yeah, all things are possible with language.
I think we should just, after we've had this little conversation, we should noodle on it a little, and then we should,
Try and write something.
start throwing some words on a paper.
Yeah.
Just remember though, we've got a bit of a time, we're already in March. But under the special improvement law, the plan has to be drawn. The map won't be hard. We actually have to create a map of the district. That I'm not worried about.
But we already have one. It's called the commission.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, actually the commission map probably would be fine for it. So that's done. The plan has to be written, and then it's got to get to the village board first for action. And then you can either do a local law or a resolution. Don't ask me why they would have such a wide spectrum of alternatives. And then it comes back to the town board. And then we also have to figure out the dissolution of the commission. That's got to be done too. I think it has to be done legislatively. And I would imagine nothing moves very quickly in Albany right now. It doesn't normally. So right now it's got to be.
Do we have to dissolve the commission before we can start the expanded district, or is that something that just has to be done by the by?
When we met with the state controller's office, their suggestion was that you'd have the district effective January 1, 22, and the commission would dissolve December 31, 21. So it's really all happening simultaneously. There is no approval by the state controller because we're not going to borrow money to extend the district.
Right.
You need to see the plan, but I think it's just a pro forma review on their part.
And would we be able to survive that in terms of the tax cap calculation?
So what the state controller will do is they will come down and recalculate our tax. That's the other thing we've got to work through is the recalculation of the town's tax cap.
That's what I'm thinking, that if it's not dissolved until 12/31, can they do it in a pro forma way for 2021?
Oh yeah, they can, because we are going to give them, we would probably do a projection. Over the summer, we probably do a projection of what the 22 commission budget would look like. I mean, we'll likely know what the labor costs will be, and we can use reasonable, estimates for the other, and then they that's the way they do it. They will come back and recalculate our cap. But remember, those wheels don't spin as quickly as the wheels down here that the town and village do. If we want to do something. So relying on Albany always makes me a little nervous, especially when you're waiting for the response.
Do we, yeah, I mean, do we have to, is it like home rule? Do we have to hit it at their legislative season? Or is this,
I think, well, yeah, I mean, it probably would not be a bad idea if we get this resolved in the next week or so for, us to reach out. I was going to reach out to, what's her name? It's woman in Steve Otis's office that I work with. Lisa? No,
yeah,
Deborah?
isn't
Who?
it?
Is it
No,
Deborah?
No, it's Lisa Ehring,
Lisa
isn't it?
Urban? Lisa Urban?
whoever it is, I was just going to say, can you map out for me what this is like? I would think it requires a home rule message, and then if I don't see why Steve Otis and Shelley Mayer would not support it, and generally when if the local legislators support it, it doesn't have statewide impact. I'm sure the legislature will adopt it, but that's a process, and especially now, I have no idea what's going on up in Albany.
We would have to do every version. Weren't there two additional ones in 1961 and all the dates?
38, 37, and 38, I thought. But
No,
I'll check.
there's another one in 1960. I
What
have
was
no idea.
Where'd you find that one?
1965
What did they do in 65?
and what they do in 65, it allowed the boards to appoint one of them as commissioner if mayor or other appointed person is unable to serve.
Oh, it just allowed for an alternate. Okay, all right. Yeah,
Um,
I would think that's the easiest of the
And
legislation.
that's 1961, which created the treasurer secretary and changed the fiscal year to match the town's fiscal year. So there's three of them. I think you'd have to get them all, right?
I mean, I think the legislation, we can argue we're dissolving another agency. So I think that probably plays
So the
well.
other two would become moot anyway.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I think it plays well in Albany. The whole thing plays well.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to ask Lisa,
Whatever her name is.
whatever her name is, if what the timeline would be for that?
Yeah. I'll
So
try to confirm a timeline.
yeah, I hate to assume something,
Okay.
find out we're already too late.
Well, no, we're now's the, you figure it'll take, you have to allow, 3 weeks to a month to develop the plan that has to be given to you in the village and reviewed. And so.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So you want to noodle over the advisory board a little bit. And then since it may be that I would request a meeting to do a salary authorization and promotions next week, that maybe we could meet towards the end of next week.
All right.
I don't have anything else unless you all have anything else.
Nope.
Okay, then I just need a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Great,
good
thank
day.
you. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
She's turning a year in about 1 month. Yeah. So the plan was like, okay, it's okay.